All right.
Oh,
So, hello and welcome. I think we will get started. And I am thrilled that you're here. My name is Sheila Williams, for those who might not know me either here or on the replay. And I call myself a magic life coach. And it's because I've created what I believe is a magical life for myself. And I help coach other people so that they can find out what possibilities are there for them. So I used to be a soccer mom and a scout leader, and I had 3 kids and a minivan and just led kind of a really normal life. And then things changed. The children grew up, and there came to be a time of like, do I want to stay here my entire life in this little town that I'm in where I raised the children? And the answer was a big no. So then you have to figure out, well, what am I going to do then? So here I am. This is the evolution to date as of today, and I expect it will change, possibly even tomorrow. I learned that you can make all kinds of choices and you can dream big and you can do things that you never thought you were capable of, and things can happen out of the blue. So that's part of what today's call is about. I called it Set Yourself Up for Success. That was something I would often say to the children. My oldest son sometimes found some struggles in life and found things really hard. And we would have conversations about, well, how did you set yourself up for success? How was this going to work out really well? Like sometimes little things like going all day at the ski hill and he would be so tired at the end. It's like, well, did you put a snack in your pocket? Like, did you put a granola bar to have in the middle of the day? It's like, no, I didn't think of that. So it's like, well, there's a really simple thing that might feel better next time. So I think all of life can be like that. There are these little simple things that if we remember to do them, everything just feels smoother, easier. It's like instead of life being really hard, it just flows and magical things happen. You think, oh, I wasn't even expecting that. And it showed up without me even looking for it. You were looking for it. But the nice thing is you weren't attached to the outcome or when it happened or how it happened. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. So yes, if you're joining us now, feel free to put in the chat where you're coming from. I'm going to just make my screen a little bit bigger with you because I have my lovely assistant, Denai, who is letting everyone in. And yeah, we get to have fun together because sometimes I facilitate on her calls. And so she offered to help me out with these duties as well. So is there anything else I can tell you about me? I know I wanted to read something to you. If you want to know something about me, I am involved with the Sarah Landon's group. And within that, there are groups called the Power of 11. And it's an optional kind of gathering. And this particular group I've been meeting with weekly for over a year. And it's a lovely group. It turns out we're all ladies. It doesn't have to be ladies, but we are all over the world. And we have been doing something where we actually focus on one person each week. And each person has set intentions. And I thought I would read you my intentions. It's actually my week. So the focus was on me this week. And I love these intentions. I set them for myself. And I think it gives a little bit idea about who I am and what I hold as important. So the reality that I, in this moment, choose to claim is to live a life of sparkle and magic, full of abundance, exploration, and curiosity, where I allow the flow of connection and love, staying open to the infinite possibilities available for me, or something even better. And that's actually something that I live by. And it's been really fun because my old life had very little of that. And it's because I didn't dream it was possible. I didn't allow it. And so now that I have this new reality, it's a lot of fun. And so I like to invite people to come and play, and we can play together today. So where are we at? I'd like to start with going over one of the most important changes that made an impact on me. And this was back in 2016. So it's been about 7 years or so that I discovered the teachings of Abraham Hicks. So whether you know Abraham or not, if you want to put it in the chat, yes, you do. No, you've never heard of them, feel free, and you don't have to know. But for me, it was really pivotal because it was the first time that I heard phrases and took them in of you can create your own reality and your thoughts, can create that. And I realized my thoughts were always very negative. It was always about worry, guilt, how things were probably not going to work out. Planning for the worst case scenario took a lot of my mental time because that's how I was raised. That was the smart thing to do and very logical, because if you knew all the things that could go wrong, you could be prepared for them. And Abraham has a slightly different perspective, which is, what if things worked out? What if they went easily? What if they went well? And just having that possibility start to sprinkle into my thoughts made a really big difference. And so what they often talk about in all of their teachings is something called the emotional guidance system. And you can find this in so many different forms. This is part of psychology. This is part of everything. Abraham didn't create this, but this is how I came to know it. So that's why I thought I would talk about that. And I'm going to share the screen because I thought, oh, I'm going to have a picture of it to make it easy. Don't worry, I'm not going to do a big PowerPoint. I'm actually doing as much as I'm doing as a bit of a joke, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. So you should be able to see the screen that says emotional guidance system. And what this does is it helps to put some names to emotions, because I was so low in the understanding and awareness of emotions, I couldn't even have the names for it. It's like, well, it feels like I'm stuck. Well, that's not really an emotion. It can explain some things, but how nice it is to have some words and to be able to put some identification and just to see in relation to one, this is kind of where I feel. And this became a very powerful tool for me to use, because if I was feeling, let's say, really discouraged about something, and there became a time where, as I tried to make myself feel better about it, I thought, well, no, I'm really just disappointed. It's like, oh, wait a second, that's actually higher on the scale. So even though I still don't feel happy, I'm actually feeling better. And that can be a really powerful tool when you are really low. And I have suffered from depression. I don't even want to say suffer. I have experienced moments of depression in my life that have been really long, and it felt better to move up the scale, even to discouraged. And that's where you do feel the shifts. And as you do continue to weave your way up, you can get a sense of, well, where am I going? Conversely, if you notice that you're going kind of down that scale, it's not that they're good or bad emotions. You just notice that maybe you're getting a little further away from where you would like to feel, because we do want to feel good in our life. We didn't come here to toil and then die. We came here to have fun and to explore. So it can be really useful for you to have awarenesses of, where am I at? Even if a day where you're feeling a little blah, it's like, well, am I bored? Because if I'm bored, well, that's not very far to go to content. I could find something that just feels even a little bit better to do. Maybe I could get up and go for a walk, or I could get a drink of water or have lunch. Maybe I'm just kind of hungry. And you can allow yourself to bring yourself up that scale. And as you're talking with people, when you hear where they are, it becomes a very powerful tool, because what happens is we very often will match people. And I'm sure that you all have some experience with that. If you're talking to someone and they're feeling super grumpy, you kind of feel yourself get a little like, yeah, you're right. I didn't have a really good day either. And yet when you're talking to someone and they're like, oh, it's awesome. I did this thing and I went on this great walk. You feel a little bit lighter, and you're tuning into some more of those happier moments for yourself. So we are very much in tune with ourselves and with others. And a lot of people will say that emotions is actually energy in motion. And Abraham specifically will talk about the vibration of emotions, and that we are and become a match to things that are at that same vibration. So that could be a lot of fun if you realize that everybody in your friend group is actually a bit of a Debbie Downer, kind of a complainer. They just get around and they bitch about work, or they talk about the energy crisis, or they talk about whatever they saw in the news that day that didn't feel good. It allows you to feel into, is this what I want? Is this the match that I want for me? How do I want to feel? Because if I want to feel good, it's really hard to see that I'm setting myself up for success when the people that I engage with most often don't want that for themselves, or they don't seem to take any actions for that. we can often hear ourselves going down to that. And this is the moment where you can find for yourself, wait a second, I can create something different. I can try to shift this conversation because these are my friends or my family and I love them. I don't want to just not hang around with them, but I could change the subject. I could prepare before meeting with them to know that I feel light in myself and I feel happy, and know that they might raise up to meet me a little bit more. So it just takes a little bit more of conscious awareness, which is another thing that Abraham really does teach a lot of, to consciously be aware of your thoughts and your feelings, your actions, your reactions. And this is allowing us to take responsibility for what our life looks like. One of the best things that Esther will say is, when something good happens, she'll say, I did that. And then when something happens that she doesn't want, she says, I did that. And that's, again, was a really big pivotal change for me to realize things aren't happening to me. I am creating it. So if I don't like something, then obviously the action that does need to be done is to look in for myself. What would I like to be different? Is this a match for how I'm feeling right now? If it is, I can make a choice. I can change what I'm feeling so that my circumstances outside of me can match that. Or I can just say, this is where I am right now. I'm feeling really sad today. I have no interest in trying to cheer myself up. I'm going to be okay with being sad today. I'm going to maybe have a nap or go to sleep and just wake up tomorrow and see what's different tomorrow. I know that I don't have to be sad tomorrow, and I'm going to allow that I might not be. And sometimes it's okay to just be where you are. So that's important too. So a few different tools there. If you are finding one thing, you can make a change. All right, I'm going to stop this so that I can see you back again. All right, now here's our little exercise, because this is meant to be very interactive, not just me chatting the whole time. If you do have some paper or a pen or a computer type note screen, or if you just want to use your mind, it's great if you can record the answers, but this is just a little bit of fun. And of course, there'll be a replay. So if there's something that you think I want to go back to, then that is absolutely there for you. We are going to look at some of the areas of our life and determine how we're feeling about them at this moment. So a lot of activities, we'll call this the wheel of life. I'm going to name off some of those major categories and you can make them fit for you. And I'd like you to just take a note very generally in this moment of from 0 being very dissatisfied all the way up to 10, as this is the dream part of my life. Like this is the absolute best it could ever be. And I'm loving every second of it. Allow yourself to notice within each category, where are you feeling right now? And again, we're going to do a deep dive into one of those categories, but for right now, it can just be very general. I'm going to list them off, all 10, and allow yourself just to notice. Again, just really general for right now. The first segment is career. Where are you feeling? Thank you, Denai's got great clarification there. 0 is very dissatisfied and 10 is like, perfect. Where are you feeling with your career? And if you're retired, I hope that you put it's a 10, but you don't have to. Maybe your retirement could use some improvement. Category number 2 is finances. How is the money situation in your life? And what is your satisfaction level with it? 3 is personal growth, spirituality, whatever that means for you. 4 is health, your physical health. How is that feeling? 5 is specifically your family. The dynamics within your family, how are they going? 6 is relationships in general. Maybe that's a romantic partner, maybe it's friends. 7 is your social life. Your satisfaction with the amount of interaction you're having with others. Some of us are introverts. Going out actually is not desirable. So you get to pick whatever's best for you. And then the last one is actually 8. It's your attitude, kind of just your mental well-being. How are you feeling in general? Perfect. Thank you. Allowing yourself just to look at that list, feeling into which areas seem to have the lower numbers, which ones have the higher numbers. When we do it as an activity on a circle, it's very visual where we can kind of see how much space it's taking up. Does anyone want to share any area that seems particularly satisfying at this moment? You can either unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. Thanks, Denai. Are there any areas that aren't going so well that you're thinking, that could use a little bit of movement?
I can share something here.
Sure, thanks.
There was a discrepancy between career and finances.
Okay.
You would think that they would be on par, but they weren't. My career number was substantially higher than my finances. So it fascinates me that I felt like career is going well, but finances aren't as high. So normally in the past that would confuse me, but it's interesting how there's that discrepancy.
That's a fun thing to notice.
I have a question.
Yes, Melinda.
Okay, so I had a good day at work, but generally I think the number would have been lower, but today was higher.
Nice.
So, I mean, does that make a difference? Because I mean, today I experienced something that I haven't experienced before, and that was people were asking me questions and like as if they respected me. So.
I like that. Yes, which you have created. You actually have created that very purposefully. Good for you.
So is there like, as far as the number is concerned, what would you put?
What would your number have been, let's say yesterday? Would it have been like a 4 or 5 or 6?
Yeah, probably a 4 or 5.
Okay.
And
But we
today's-
are just playing. But yeah, maybe today add 1 just because it was a good day. And I'm excited to hear how many more good days start kind of joining together.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it's just to have an idea. And when we focus on one, you might want to work on that one, like to look at that one, because you know there's already movement and growth that's happening, which is kind of fun to notice, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, love it. All right. So anybody else want to share? Or I can move on.
I'll just share that one thing that's really stood out to me and reflecting on this is just my outlook, my level of appreciation. So I guess that would fall under attitude, is that just my appreciation of everything. So for instance, the other day I was outside and I was just taking a really leisurely walk with no time frame in mind. And I was standing by the stream that connects to a lake and I saw a little muskrat from afar, and it came down the stream, swam underneath me. I watched it get out of the stream and just start munching on some plants. And that like literally was, it took me to like a state of heaven. So it's just like my level of appreciation just and everything just feels really high. So that's what's really standing out to me in this moment.
Love that, Bo. Thank you for sharing. And that's, life is so much fun when you start to be aware of those moments, right? And just you catch like a butterfly out of the corner of your eye and you just have to stop and watch it kind of go around for a little bit. And it's so much fun to capture these little snapshots and so much appreciation. I like to think that I created it. Like, oh yeah, I made that. I actually created this whole scene just so it would be here for me as I walked by. I do believe we do that.
Yeah, and I mean that's the way it feels. Like I've been getting these out of the blue wildlife encounters, and for anyone who's familiar with the council, like they've told these amazing, you could say, prophecy type scenarios of like what
Mhm.
interacting with wildlife will be like, and it's happening in my world. And like when it does happen, I'm like, oh, this is my creator, like, you know, God self, like wowing myself. Because like I also had a woodchuck, literally a woodchuck, just walk out of the woods. Again, I was feeling very oneness in the moment, and it walked out of the woods and just literally walked right up to me. And I was just
Yeah.
like, I am, this is like a whole other level. Like the wildlife is just, and each time it does feel like this is my higher self,
Yeah.
wowing my human self. And it always feels so good.
Oh, I love that. Yes. Oh, that's very exciting. It is very exciting when things like this start to happen and you're aware of it. And yes, I have some of my own encounters, and I've been doing pet sitting over the last year, let's say, and I definitely have noticed just my tuning in, my match to animals is different. If I'm just out on a walk, there will be dogs who are walking with their owners, and they just, all they want to do is come and say hello to me. And I'm just walking. I'm not like calling them or anything, but it's just another, like you say, some of the birds and some of the other animals that are out and about, and they are very much drawn to the energy, I think, when they feel that alignment in you. Yeah, awesome.
So Sandra's put something in the chat. She said for spirituality, she got a 10. She feels like it's getting so strong now. She said career, not sure what to say because she just quit her job today. So she's setting up a new business for her parents at the moment, a nursing business for her parents at the moment. So I thought it was neat because how do we define career? And then she said, yeah. So I think we are what we do, essentially.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, careers, I think if there's a business or something that we do to bring in income into our life, but I guess who knows? When we all have our millions and we're just running foundations or volunteering, does that mean that's our career? I don't know. Career is Earth Explorer. But congratulations, Sandra, big step. And it's, I'm sure, going to be very exciting for you to explore new areas and just more expansion. Like curiosity.
This was definitely the universe pushing, because I'm a health link nurse and I'm casual, so I haven't worked since the end of March, so 6 weeks. So I was like been flying under the radar for a while. Been getting a lot of angel signs, like different numbers. And then when I look it up, it's like I've got to move, I've got to release, I've got to cut the cords. It's like, yeah, I hadn't quite quit the job. So anyways, I get a call today from my manager. They need to book me in for this mandatory training. Like, oh crap. Okay, guess I'm gonna have to quit the job.
Yeah. There you go. It's time.
Right? Yeah, it makes no sense. We just bought a house. We just moved back middle of, but I have a pension that I haven't even touched, so that's where the money is gonna come from, and I'm just not gonna worry about it. So
Exactly.
but I've
Exactly.
basically been told I can't go any further if I don't release the old. So yeah.
Yes.
So.
Very good lesson that the universe sometimes just punts us into, and sometimes we go gracefully. I left my corporate job a few times and then kind of went back like, oh, I kind of missed the money, and I kind of missed the, being able to count on it and not trust myself. And finally, I just gave that up. It's like, that's not serving me. That's just using up my focus and my energy. And it's nothing about it is bringing me joy or bringing my spirit any benefit. So obviously that vibration is going to go into all of the things that I create for others. And I feel that I deserved better and they deserved better. So that made it a much easier decision for me. So
Well,
awesome.
Sheila, that's kind of what happened. I've had no problems. And then it was about near the end of February, I got pulled into my manager's office. I've been a registered nurse for 34 years. I've worked ICU, different things. And there was questions on my critical thinking. I'm like, are you guys for real? Anyways, I know that was the universe.
Yeah.
Then it was like a month later, they had done a call. Like they always do our calls. Like people don't realize our calls are really monitored, and they're ramping it up now post-COVID. That's what this mandatory training was about. They even told me like I took too long of bathroom breaks and crap like that. So yeah, and that's just all of a sudden started. And it was like, I know this was a push. This was definitely a push. Bye-bye.
There you go. So
Yeah,
now you can
but-
release that and moving ahead. And that's really going to feed so beautifully, thank you, Sandra, to what we're about to talk about, because it's really about feeling into how do you want to feel? How do we want this to feel? So let's go very briefly to a definition for success. I used to be an English teacher, and anyone who's been on Sarah Landon calls knows she also likes to find definitions for words. And because I think when we use a word like success, it actually has so many variations that no one is actually, I think, comparing identically when they are talking about success. One person might have, a number of registrants for an online course, for instance, and be really excited about it and think, wow, this is super successful. And another person might be really disappointed because like, how come people didn't sign up? Like everything is so relative. And so I looked for the Oxford definition, and it's a really nice, simple one: the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. So when we allow ourselves to set these small goals or milestones or expectations, and when they do come through for us, that is success. And what I'm going to continue to sprinkle in is my own version, which is we also get to allow ourselves to change what those goals are, because we get to allow that we're always creating a new reality. So even if we set a goal for ourselves last month or last year, that goal might actually not be true for us anymore. Setting the goal may have put us on a path to something even better. And that's where, when we're remembering to continue to check in with how do I feel about this? How do I want to feel? And is this a yes or a no? We're going to do that more often when we're more in tune with who we are and what we want. And that also can save us the time and the trouble of maybe pursuing a goal that doesn't feel aligned anymore. Maybe it's just not the right end for us. We don't need that, quote unquote, accomplishment to happen, because we're already on the path to something that feels even better. And that might shift, and that might shift. And it just gets to be a flow, not a linear process of, steps 1 through 100, but it's actually more like a connect the dots 1 through 100, right? So you really do get to follow what feels good. So if we look at success, I would love to invite you all to think of a memory of a time when you felt success, a time that you felt successful at something you did. Maybe you finished some schooling, you received an achievement, a certification, maybe something within your family, anything at all. And if you do have something to jot it down, go ahead and just jot it down. But if it's easier for you just to think about it in your memory, just find that time. It was even driving in a city that felt really challenging, and you returned the rental car without a scratch on it. That was me last week. I felt really successful. And allowing yourself to think, when was this moment? Where were you at in your life? What age were you? Was there an actual moment of achievement? Were you with anyone?
I have it just early this afternoon.
Perfect.
I just come out of the place and there was another car coming, and I saw it right on time. It stopped, and the car went by. That was just wonderful. because I didn't get upset. I didn't get scared or anything. I just,
Yes.
something just, wow. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Yes. Aligned timing.
Yeah.
So allowing yourself to feel into that memory and noticing what it feels like to feel successful. And just feel into, again, if there was a moment when you realized something was done and you've checked it off the list, or maybe there is an actual ceremony involved. Allow yourself to remember back in your body. What did that feel like? What can success feel like for you when it happens? Maybe there is a bit of a lightness. Maybe there feels like it's an energizing feeling. Maybe you have a smile on your face. Introducing the idea that may be new for some people that emotions are very often experienced within our body. If we're scared about something, our heart could race. We might feel like our chest is tight. Sometimes that's very similar to excitement. Nervous can often feel like something in our stomach and our solar plexus. I often will get like a tingling in my feet if I'm really like scared of something. I'm scared of heights. So just like being on swing sets when I was little, it's like that did not feel good to me. It was very clearly in my feet and my knees. And so I knew that that was a feeling I did not enjoy. So I didn't need to keep making myself do it. So allow yourself to feel into that feeling of success. And just noticing for yourself if there are any sensations that show up for you in your body as you revisit this memory. Sometimes it's even a lightness in your shoulders, or you're feeling proud and your shoulders move back. Maybe your heart is beating. Maybe it's tied into a little bit of other emotions like joy or pride. And just allowing yourself to play with that connection that you have with your body as you allow yourself to feel the emotion of success. If you're able to tune into it, maybe just notice a few things like, does it have a shape, a size, a weight? Maybe it's made of something, or maybe it just feels like energy. Everyone experiences it differently. Beautiful. So now that you've brought forward a memory and you've activated within your body what that feeling of success can feel like, I would invite you to select one area of your focus wheel of life. One area that you would like to see even a little bit better. Maybe it's a low one, or maybe it was something that was medium or high, but you would like to make it even just that little bit better. So if you joined us late, we actually looked at all these categories and we rated our satisfaction from 0 to 10 of how are we feeling about that area right now. You're welcome to go back in the replay if you'd like to do that exercise from the beginning, but for right now, maybe just pick one area, one topic of your life that you're thinking, I would like to put a little bit of focus here. I would like to feel even better about it. And within that larger topic, I would like you to picture in your mind, or imagine, is there one area specifically? So let's say you picked career. Is there something within that career that you think, I would like to feel more successful about this? Is there a goal that you've already set for yourself that hasn't come through yet? Or something that you'd like to be expanding? New education? New connections? You get to pick whatever feels good for you. And within that topic, narrow it down a little bit for one area, one goal that you'd like to be working towards and feel successful about. And allow yourself to imagine, how will it feel when you are successful within this goal? Allow yourself to imagine that it's done. Whatever it was that success meant for you, it's done. And allow yourself to feel the success that you imagined. All right. This was just us playing a little bit. We're activating what success can feel like. We've allowed ourselves to actually feel success right now in this moment. And we've spent enough time that the vibration of that success is actually within us. And I do believe that when we allow these emotions to be active within us, we actually start to draw in things that will match it. So if I feel successful, I'm going to start to see things occur within my environment that match that feeling of success. Maybe it's driving and hitting some red lights or some green lights. Maybe it's, going to make dinner and it's like, oh, look, there's some leftovers in the fridge already. That feels really easy. I can feel really successful in this moment because all of this is happening for me and it's all a match to how I feel. So what we're going to do now, first of all, I'll just stop. Is there anything that anybody does want to share about the area that they're choosing or their goal that they're focusing on? You can put it in the chat or you feel free to unmute yourself. I don't want to rush through this, but you're also free to keep it private if you want as well.
I'll share that the moment of success I went to was a moment I go back to a lot, was after I had done a live improv show in North Hollywood, just like electrified, alive, and just like feeling so much like, holy cow, that was a blast, that was amazing. And so I went back to that feeling first, and then I played with what it would feel like to be, like, because I haven't really done a lot with this recently in my life, but to be like a paid performer in performances that I feel aligned with, not just any performance, but like performances I feel really like aligned with. And I just went to the feeling of like, what would it be like to be a paid performer with performances that I would just love to be a part of? And it just, felt it's like so milky in my body and alive, and it was almost like this feeling of like, yeah, like that would be like to experience that, like that does feel like a dream. And it also just like, I could feel what it feels like. And I was just like, ooh, more of that, please. So thank you for your guidance.
Yes, and absolutely possible. And that's the absolute magical key of it. Yes. So thank you for sharing. Hi, Sharon. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Mute. Yeah, thank you so much for doing this group. And I'm sorry I'm late, but that was a really awesome exercise. And the first thing that popped into my head was when I was in my, actually I'm going back a while, but early 20s, I had a very successful hand-painted clothing business. And I made hundreds and hundreds. I mean, I used to come home and my dad was so excited, like, counting the cash and then putting the checks together, and the feeling, just so much excitement and smiling. And I felt like jumping. It was like inside I was jumping up and down. I never thought of it that way. And the area that I want to set a goal in, I mean, it's definitely finance. And the thing that I wrote down is I want to be rich, but how do I define that? How do I mean, I've been flexing my abundance muscles over the past week. I got that from somebody, you know, just looking at abundance in my life. And I have been receiving more. So I don't know. I need to, and I don't know if you have a suggestion. Like, I want more money. You know, I want to be able to just go to a restaurant, and I'll wind up with this, you know, and just not think about how much something is, you know what I mean? So, all right. That's my story. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. And I know that you get to feel into what will that feel like? What does it feel like to go to a restaurant, just order anything you want? And what does that feel like? Allow yourself to spend some time just imagining that and feeling into that, and notice when you do it, because I bet you do it sometimes. Maybe it's just going to a coffee shop or something. You're just like, yeah, I feel like the tuna fish sandwich. I'm not going to like compare it, try to save 50 cents from the egg salad. I'm just going to get what I want. And you get to notice whenever that happens, and notice how, yeah, this feels good. I like this feeling. I love being able to just look at the menu and pick what I want. I want 2 scoops of ice cream. I'm not just going to try to save $2 and only get one. Like, I'm going to get what I want. And the more you just bask in that appreciation, then you just become more of a match and more of a match, and more things will flow until you're just doing it. And you just think, oh my gosh, this is that thing that I wanted. I was like, it's here, it's now. Like, it just feels so natural now.
Wow. Sheila, you are awesome. That was magical. I'm going to write down some notes about how I love that it's something very specific, you know, just that feeling. So thank you. That was really helpful. Thanks.
You're welcome, Sharon. It's so nice to see you again. So I'm happy you could join us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And what would you like to share?
Yeah, hi, Sheila.
Hi.
So I think for me, what's becoming really increasingly apparent is that I do need to focus on my health right now. And I think that's really the lowest score of the list. For those of you who don't know, some of you know me from Sarah's community, but my son transitioned at 18 last year, in January, about 1.25 years ago. And what I'm realizing is that, you know, I am so happy with the way the spiritual growth and all the attitude stuff and everything like that is going, because I just have such a tremendous connection with him even now. And all those things are just going in a very good direction. But the thing that's not is that, you know, the grief does take a toll on your body. And, you know, he was my only son. So my human is really having a hard time with that. And so it's the up and down. It's like, you know, I took some weight off and then I put it back on again. And it's just that whole cycle of grief. But what I realize very clearly now is that I really do need to focus on it, and it needs to be a priority, you know. And, you know, one of the things that Sarah said in one of her previous calls was she just wants to feel good in her body. And I really resonated with that, because that is really it. It's not about a particular number on a scale or anything like that. I have this pulled muscle in my hip that's causing mobility challenges, and I just want to feel good in my body again. Because if I'm going to be stuck here and not be with him for a while, you know, and I've got all these things I still apparently supposed to do, then you know, I want to feel good while I'm here. And I think that does resonate with then that vibration of freedom and mobility and spontaneous adventures like he and I had throughout his whole life, you know, because I treasured every moment with him. And I think I just need to be able to do that on my own now, and in a way that feels freeing and feels exciting and feels like he's still with me in spirit and all that sort of stuff. So that's really a focal point for me right now, is to try to figure out how to get unstuck from that and how to get that moving in the right direction, you know?
Yes,
so, thank you.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And did you determine like one area to look at within health? Is there one goal that you might like to, is it to move your body more? Is it to just feel more excited?
That is actually that's perfect, because, you know, because of this pulled muscle I've gotten, and because of the grief, you know, I've gotten a little bit more sedentary than what I ever was. And I think that's only exacerbated the hip problem. And then also, I think, I mean, the weight's gone up and down, but I want the weight to go down, and I want to feel more, you know, fit and trim again. But I also I think the mobility is it. I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head. I just want to get more movement, and I don't feel that right now, because everything, even the hip feels frozen and stuck, you know, because I haven't been moving it enough. So mobility is probably a really, really good way for me to think about it. Feel good in my body and be more mobile. Yeah. Be more, what did you say? I think you said act.
I said move your body more. Because,
move my body. That's even better. Yeah. Move my body.
I always like that, because you get to decide, you can be gentle. It's even if you set the goal for yourself of, I'm going to move just a little bit more today than I did yesterday. It feels achievable and accessible, and it can look in all kinds of different ways. And it could be just putting on a song while you're putting the dishes in the dishwasher and trying to dance around a little bit. Even, you know, if you're just kind of wiggling your hips and standing in place, it's like you can decide. And yet it's going to create that momentum within you and your body of just like you say, not being stuck, of just like getting it a little more loose and moving. And it can take on a life of its own until you just all of a sudden, you think, oh, I'm going to go for a walk today. And then somewhere on the walk, you go, wait a second, that wasn't even a big deal. I'm just out for a walk and it feels good. And again, we invite and we create that momentum. And then this all starts to feel very natural.
That's
no big deal. No big deal.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks for sharing. Exciting. I appreciate the interaction. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else want to share before we move on? Love seeing all the animals in the background. Thank you. I had a big black dog behind me, but he's gone now for his dinner. So, all right. So moving on. Perfect. I'm going to share the screen one more time, and then I'll tell you why it was a bit of a joke. I need to figure out how to share screen again. And it's this one. So I'm going to flip it over. So I used to be a corporate trainer. Well, I was a school teacher, and then I became a corporate trainer. And I have made so many PowerPoints in my life, and I made them really poorly. It turned out I did all the things that you weren't supposed to do. There was so much text that you couldn't really read it. And I learned how to make them better and better. And then I learned that I didn't want to ever have a PowerPoint again. So today, like for this, it was actually funny because I thought, well, it might be nice just to have a little screen at the beginning to say like, welcome. And then I thought, well, it could be nice just to put the goal, like the tips, because I said I was going to offer 5 tips. And I did this really very tongue-in-cheek, as ironic of like, look, I have a PowerPoint, but I'm going to basically say almost nothing that's on the screen, because this is what a regular type of presentation of, 5 tips to set yourself up for success would be. And they are true. I do believe in them all, but I'm going to put my own little spin on them. And then of course, put anything in the comments that you want, if you want to interact. And I always invite the interaction for sure, but let's just look at these, which I do consider to be 5 tips that really can help you with your success. I do believe that defining your goals can be very useful. I think what I've already talked about though, is I invite you to let those goals be moving at all times. Allow them to direct your focus because they are lighting you up. And then as you direct your focus towards something that lights you up, if something else lights you up, allow yourself to fluidly follow that if you want to. There is no need to, wrap yourself around and padlock like a big chain to something that you thought was really exciting when you were 16, or even last week. You get to decide. Now, am I suggesting that you are a flaky person who never, sticks to any of your commitments or anything? I don't think that has to be the way it is. I personally find myself a very reliable person. I want to be someone you can always count on. And I'm learning how to find a balance so that I can have flexibility. Even if I make an appointment with someone, if I really don't feel that I'm going to bring my best to the appointment, I change it. I let them know I'm going to need to reschedule. And I do that in the best way, to the most integrity that I can, but I don't force myself to show up knowing I'm not going to give my best, because that to me is not fair to the person in front of me. Much more so than feeling as if I got to keep my appointment because, a month ago they booked this with me. I would rather know that I'm bringing my best. So giving yourself that flexibility to constantly be checking in with, where am I now? Understanding that we are new in every basically moment. We are constantly creating new versions of ourselves. We're learning, we're expanding, we're seeing life from new perspectives. We also need to allow that sometimes those goals that we pick, they may shift. And when we follow them like breadcrumbs, we're actually being led to something even better. They have value without question, but they don't have to be something that holds us kind of stuck. So What did I want to say about that? Anything else? Probably not. So the next one, focus on wanted. I think that this is very, very important. And it is important because where our focus goes, our energy flows. When we are constantly focused on things that we don't want, that is what usually will show up. Something that matches that is what's going to appear in our life. If we're constantly worried about health issues, well, we're going to start to see some. If we focus instead on vitality and energy, that's where we're going to start seeing more evidence. Even if there is something right now in your body, allow that you can shift it. You can, in fact, shift and create your reality. What you are seeing, though, is going to be the match for where you are. And this is where you get to decide, if this is the match and it's not what I want, I have some choices. This is where I can start focusing on something else. And it doesn't mean to deny what you're feeling, but it allows you to know, if I want something different, I need to do or think something different in this moment. I need to feel something different. And sometimes even that is as simple as putting on a music while you're putting the dishes in the dishwasher and moving your body around. It's a way of just like, how can I shake this up a little bit? I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling irritated. And I acknowledge those feelings, and I might even feel like I'm right, but I would rather be happy than right all the time. So I'm going to shift what I can so that I can just get a little bit more up that emotional scale so that I can feel even just that little bit better. And that starts the momentum going the way you want. So if you allow yourself to focus on what you want, and in my opinion, daydream really big when you are deciding what you want, go all the way for that home run, grand slam home run. So like, I don't want to play baseball. I want to be the grand slam home run winner of the World Series. Allow yourself to dream as big as you possibly can. I used to dream very small. In fact, I rarely allowed myself to think I could change my life. And when I did, I thought, oh, little bits. Like, what if I could move from Edmonton to Kelowna someday? Like, oh, that would be a really big move to a different city in a different province. Wow, nobody I know would make that move. So maybe that's even too big. Well, now I travel the world. I like Kelowna, but I have no intention of living there because there's so many places in the world that I haven't been yet. I want to make time to see those first. So allow yourself to really aim big and know that you're just putting yourself on that trajectory. And there are lots of different ways that you can flow towards something else. It's just, you're kind of focusing there. You're just pointing the arrow and you're going, okay, we're going to go this way. Let's set the GPS to somewhere really fun and see where we end up along the way. Number 3 is to build a support network. So important. And I did talk about this a bit in the beginning. Surround yourself with people who match the energy that you want to have. There's no question that you will be impacted by people around you. If it is, let's say, your family, maybe you even live with your family and you're not finding it always comfortable, well, then you can make different choices. You can make sure you're in the highest vibration possible and feeling as good as you can before you interact with them. You could have them be short and sweet encounters. You can find reasons to be out of the house or, have shorter visits. There are lots of ways that you can play within this. If there's a friend and maybe think, yeah, but we've been friends for 20 years, but whenever we get together, it just feels like all we do is complain and, think about all the things that went wrong. You know what? Maybe it is time to move on. You get to feel in for that of what feels best for you, even just a little bit of a break. You get to feel, what do I want? And how can I surround myself with people that lift me up spiritually, emotionally, physically, if you want. Like, let's find really strong people who could just carry you if you need them to, because why not? You're going to go for a hike and you might all need to take a break. Like, just have some fun with feeling into who do I interact with the most. An interesting perspective within how we engage with people now is very often it is remote. I engage with almost everybody on a Zoom call. And isn't that fun? Because I do get to pick and choose. What kind of meetings do I want to be on? What kind of calls do I want to be on? If it doesn't feel good, if I'm on maybe a group call with some friends and it's not feeling good, I can say, okay, guys, I got to see you. See you later. I got to take a dog for a walk. You can disengage yourself from that environment if it doesn't feel good. If that feels good for you, you could stay And as I said before, maybe introduce a new topic that feels better. You could tell a joke. You could tell people about a fun movie that you just saw or a podcast that you listened to. There are different variations of how you can create your social environment to uplift you to where you want to be within yourself. And you want those people to match your highest potential whenever possible. It's my perspective. And I've personally done that the last year or so. And I think it has made a day and night difference to just how I feel in my time alone, as well as when I'm engaging with others. Number 4 is prioritize self-care. So we do hear about this a lot these days, which I think is a wonderful, wonderful shift. It used to be considered, lazy if you wanted to have a nap. Nobody knew what meditation was, or they just thought it was something weird people who did yoga engaged in. And we now know, of course, that sports teams meditate. Business people meditate. Naps are encouraged in certain work environments, working shorter work weeks, moving your body. I remember when my grandmother was 50, she looked like an old woman. Well, I've made it past 50 and I feel vital and energetic, and I get to run upstairs if I go hiking. I'm not in great shape, but I'm still really proud of the fact that I can run up the stairs when I go hiking. And it's just a matter of taking that time for ourselves. What feels good? Today, I got really sleepy. So I said, okay, I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes. And I laid down and I kind of had a little cat nap. I used to be someone who never napped, but now I'm tuning in enough to myself to think that I obviously have been preparing for this. I've had some other things going on today. I'm depleted enough that I really want to take this time for myself and just allow that energy to come back up to the point that feels good for me. So I did. No guilt, no judgment, no nothing. I just laid down, set the timer, and I felt refreshed when it went off. So that is the one of those small kinds of choices in your day. If you have a job and you can't have a nap, no problem. Could you go to bed a bit earlier? Could you wake up a little bit earlier to find time for yourself? What can you do? And maybe you're not someone who enjoys meditation. Do you like going for a walk? Do you like listening to something that feels good? I don't necessarily mean turning on Netflix and letting, 5 hours of shows play back to back. What is best for you is when you can feel good. Quieting your mind can be really helpful because it does a bit of that reset. Even if you just stop and take 3 deep breaths, that allows your energy to come back in and you'll get the benefits of that reset. So it doesn't have to be a big giant meditation practice. It can be very small moments in your day where you just close your eyes and take a deep breath. And that might be it. And you might need to go full steam ahead after that. But you get to feel into what works for you and be aware of when you might want to incorporate it a little bit more and a little bit more, because as you get used to doing it, you really love it and you create the time, and it's easy to carve out that time. Be present in the present. I thought that was a fun way of putting this. And really, for me, this means be in the now moment. If you do listen to certain teachers in the world, they really emphasize the fact that what we have is always just the now. And when I work with people as clients one-on-one, it very often is the case that when there's emotion that they don't really want, it's because they're looking back to something or they're looking ahead and they're worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet. And that can be very, very common. So if you allow, well, how am I right now? How am I right now? I'm safe. I have shelter. I have food. I feel secure. Okay, so that's kind of the safety part. How do I feel? Do I feel content? Do I feel bored? Am I angry? Am I happy? Am I excited? Am I curious? This is where having those words for the emotions can come in, because you can just do a little check-in. How am I right now? And if there's something coming up and I'm feeling a bit worried about it, just keep bringing it back to now. How am I right now? Well, right now I'm okay. I just think about tomorrow. Well, but how about now? Now I'm okay. Well, all right. So let's just keep having moments of now. And you may find that you get right up into that moment of when the thing is happening and you kind of forgot to be worried about it and anxious about it. You might just smoothly sail right into it, because in each now moment, you're actually doing well. In fact, you're curious to see how it works out and you're excited because this is something you've been waiting for. You could be tuning into more of those desired emotions. What happens if you're thinking, well, right now I feel worried? Okay, no problem. what can we do right now that might feel a little bit better to help that worry have ease? You know, could you take a deep breath? Could you think about something that feels better? Could you imagine having this done and it went really successfully? That's where, again, your thoughts and your imagination can play a huge role. We're not at the mercy of what's going on around us. We always have that control and power within us to decide how we want to feel. All right, so I'm going to turn off my screen, and that is the end of the ironic PowerPoint. Thank you for listening to my 5 steps to set yourself up for success. Small actions, I find, really do make the biggest difference. And I say actions, but I even just mean like really small pieces. Maybe it's small thoughts. Maybe it's just small shifts. Maybe it's just allowing that something could be 1% better. Could I feel even 1% better in this moment if I allowed it? Could my pain go down 10%? Is it possible that it might go down 10% right now? It's possible. Okay, well, that feels a bit better to know that maybe it'll go down 10%. It might not be gone, but it might go down 10. I could even ask, would it be willing to go down another 10%? Just 10. And then you get to feel into it. Maybe it does feel even just a little bit better. Well, now you're moving up the scale. And now more is possible for you because you're not focused on how bad it was. You're focusing on how it's already getting a little bit better. And that can shift your momentum through the whole day. Okay. Any questions, comments, anything before we move on to our last activity? Okay. So what I would like you to do is to guide your mind back to that topic that you chose, that you want to see a little bit of a shift. We could call it an improvement. You'd like to go a little bit higher in the scale. And whatever that one area was, that one goal, perhaps, if we want to call it that, something that at some point you would like to look at it and say, yes, I did it. I was successful at that. Maybe it was starting a new program. Maybe it was trying something new, contacting someone, going out of your comfort zone in some way, whatever it is for you. You get to decide, what is that? And just have it in your mind of what it is and how you don't necessarily feel you have success right now. You know, it's possible, but it's not in just current reality. So if you have that in mind, I would invite you to close your eyes if they're not already closed. And I would ask you to bring to mind a place in this world that you know that you feel good. It might be a room in your home. It might be somewhere you've gone on vacation. It may be a place in nature. Maybe there's a park bench that you like to visit. Anywhere in this world that you know you've gone to before and you felt relaxed there and some peace. Maybe it's even your bed. Allow yourself to just have it be a place that you feel good. Notice if it's in a room, anything in that room, if there are lights on or if it's daylight coming in the window. If you're outside, notice if it's day or night. If the sun is out or if it's cloudy, is there a breeze? Any sounds that might be there. This is your environment. This is your place. Allow yourself to be here. And picture yourself sitting down. Perhaps there's a bench or a chair. If it's a place that normally doesn't have a chair, allow yourself to imagine a comfortable chair. One that feels very secure, supporting you. Notice as you sit there that you feel calm, very safe, even relaxed. Your shoulders can drop down. This is a place that you know. And now I'll invite you to imagine another place for someone to sit appearing. Another chair, another park bench. anything that allows someone to join you in this space. And now I want you to notice that someone is actually coming towards you. And as they get closer, you invite them to sit down in that other seat. And you notice that this is actually you in the future. Allowing yourself to notice how far in the future it is. Perhaps it's a few weeks, a few months, a few years. And you'll know because this is the future you who knows how your goal was achieved successfully, how it all worked out. So you get to decide based on your timeline that you set for yourself. Envision this future you who knows the whole story and knows that you were successful. It all worked out perfectly, even better than you could have imagined. Allow yourself to notice their hair, what they're wearing, the big smile on their face. And imagine asking that future you, tell me about it. Tell me how it happened. Did it work out? Did we even change the goal? Was it something that I never even thought of? Or how did this goal work? I'm so curious and eager to find out. Allow yourself to ask them any questions you might have. Hear the excitement. Imagine asking that future self, how did it feel when we had this done? And we marked it as a success. What was that like? Allow yourself to notice as they're telling you that it was easy, that it happened naturally and effortlessly. It was easier than you'd ever imagined. And as one last question, imagine asking that future self, what is the next inspired step that you could actually take today to get you a little bit closer to that finish point that they've already experienced? Is there one easy, inspired action? Allowing your future self to wrap up any details or any questions you may have had. Imagine thanking them saying goodbye in a way that feels good. Allowing them to stand up and walk away. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to come back to you and this body and this chair, this place. And just noticing any feelings that you have in this moment. Any ideas that have come through. Whenever it feels good, you can open your eyes. Beautiful. Is there anything that anyone would like to share about anything that came through for them in terms of a timeline or the feelings? Or even what is that next action that feels choiceless, natural, easy?
I'm always up for sharing.
Thanks, Bo.
So what I was getting from my higher self was a lot. The invitation was just how I can feel about myself, and just an invitation into how I can feel about myself, like a new way of feeling about myself. And a lot of it just had to do with like worthiness, just like the
Yeah.
best of the best, and it being easy, and just like just the realization there's so much big and fun and opportunity out there, and it is meant for me. And again, and another aha was like there's always more fun on deck.
Yes.
And I'm just like I'm always so ready for it, like, and that it can be easy, as you said, and just like sitting in the realization there's like, oh my gosh, there's so much fun on deck, and I'm so ready for it. And so those were the big ahas, and just like seeing like, yeah, like feel that that is meant for you, like that is all meant for you. And then the invitation to the next step was just to be, just as I share myself, just to be more myself. So for instance, I've come a long way, but like when I'm just giddy. And it's interesting that you were talking about how we match people, because I do see how there's a relationship in my life where when I'm with these people, I just like, they just kind of like, I'm more like, like,
Yeah.
And so like, I kind of make the assumption of like, oh, like, well, if I were just like my giddy, like radiant self, like they would be like, what the heck? And so I do kind of just like keep
Yeah.
it very straight line, because I'm like, well, they wouldn't be able to handle all this. But in truth, like when I take walks out in nature, like I often will like run down the road and twirl and skip, and like, and I just, like a kid. And if I have an umbrella, I'll twirl the umbrella. I'm like, that's me. Like I am flamboyant, I'm big, I'm loud. I'm naturally excited about things. And so the invitation was like, as I just show up anywhere, just be more myself, like just take up space, be myself, be giddy, and just let go of this like, well, I can't be giddy because nobody else here is giddy. It's like, well, I'm going to be giddy because that's what feels good to me. So that was my next step.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful one, because it's being true to your authentic self and what feels good for you in that moment, as opposed to feeling like you need to bring yourself down, dim your lights just to blend in. And there may be circumstances when that is the thing that needs to be done, but certainly within a friend group, that's the time I think that you should be encouraged to be as completely true and authentic as you can. So great awareness.
I love that, Bo. It's like you're unapologetically you.
Oh yeah.
I love that. I think that's the most attractive person on this planet, the person that's unapologetically them, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a comment and a question, Sheila. I think for me, I wasn't quite so happy go skipping down there. For me, it was a little bit more of like a punch in the face realization.
Okay.
I realized that as this year has gone on, there's been less motivation to deal with the clutter and the stuff that's built up around me in this house. And I realized that that's also what's going on inside my body. So it's kind of an out reflection of what's happening inside my body right now. So it was a little bit of more of like a tough love kind of thing for me. Like, you know, if you have any hopes of getting all this together, you're not really, like, the relationship with my home is really not in good shape right now. Like, I just almost don't even care, but that's not a good thing either on your emotion scale. You know, it's not even, apathy is probably not a good thing, you know? So I'm trying to think about that too. Like, I'm thinking, gosh, I do have that exercise bike from COVID sitting out there. If I just got on that, that wouldn't hurt my hip for 10 minutes when we get off this call. That would be a step in the right direction. You know?
Absolutely.
The other thing is, like, if I just cleaned this desk instead of working around all the clutter, what would that take? 10 minutes? You know?
And that's, yes, go ahead.
No, please comment. I don't want to ask you.
Yeah, let me comment first, because what you brought up was so useful for everybody. Is our physical surroundings absolutely, in my opinion, reflect, you know, what's going on in our body, and which came first, it doesn't matter, but like pick one. And it's often the easier to do something on the outside stuff, like you say, and it's so common to have like that desk not get cleaned up or whatever, and you just think, oh, I don't want to, but you do know it would feel good when it's done.
Oh, yes.
You know that, you know, even sitting down to work or on a call, everything would feel lighter and brighter. And so to allow yourself, okay, what if I set a timer? What if I set a timer for 10 minutes? Or what if I put on some good music? Or what if I listen to a podcast or put on, you know, that show that I like, that's kind of my, you know, the guilty pleasure. And then while it's on, I'm going to actually get this desk done. But in 10 minutes, I'm done. Like, it's not going to be an all day chore. I'm going to set myself a really manageable time frame. And if I want to do it longer, I can. Remember how we talked about like setting goals?
Because then you get motivated when you start doing something. Yeah,
like my goal is 10 minutes.
Wow, I can actually see the desk.
Yeah, if you want to keep going, that's just you tuning in of what feels good, right? So it's not as if we have to say, well, I wanted to be a nurse. Well, now I don't want to be a nurse. I'm giving that up completely. Like, it doesn't have to be these big giant things. It's like, I made a decision. 10 minutes to clean out the desk, or I made a decision, I want to be a caregiver and I'm excited about nursing. And at some point you get to keep revisiting. Yes, no, how do I feel? And absolutely, small amounts of activity could feel great. Cleaning things up could feel great. You know, doing one shelf in a bookshelf, or just picking one piece of clothing out of your closet every day. And you think, you know what, I don't actually love that anymore. And I've got this bag ready and I just drop it in the bag and I don't even think about it after that. It's not clean out the closet day. It's that one thing doesn't bring me joy and I'm popping it in that donation bag. And at the end of the month, whatever's in that bag, I think I'm going to just take to the donation place. Like,
wow. Yeah, because I take on such big monumental tasks and then I get demotivated and I say, oh my God, that's too big. I can't possibly do that. And but it sounds like what you're doing is chunking it out into smaller, more baby step, manageable things, and then not overtaxing yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's so good for just mentally, and just so that it feels lighter, and so that we can practice this tuning in and checking in process of just, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? How am I feeling? Because that's our work really all day long, is just tuning into, how do I feel? Because I could have been doing something and it felt great. And now it's kind of getting a little flat. And now I'm kind of getting a little bored, and like, then stop. If you can, now's the time to take a break. And again, if you're at work, for instance, a lot of us do work or have had jobs where it's not like you could just say, yeah, I'm kind of bored of this. It's 1 o'clock. I'm going golfing. But you could get up and get a drink of water, or make a tea, or have a snack, or go check in with someone and say, hey, how's your day going? I just need to stretch my legs for 5 minutes and then I'm going to go back. Like, you get to feel into, I'm shifting the energy and I'm checking in. I'm going to see how I'm doing and I'm checking in. I'm kind of feeling like I'm going down. Well, then changing this energy is going to be the best thing I can do to bring myself back up. Doesn't have to be a big deal.
No,
So
it's great advice. Now, can I ask a question? So
always,
the very first slide that you showed with the emotional levels and things and the way that whole goes with the vibration. So
Yeah.
when you're in a situation, and I'll just give you an example, but I don't want to get too crazy into it. But so
Yeah.
last night I was with a bunch, there's a group that I attend every month of bereaved moms.
Yeah.
And it was getting so heavy. And I was actually feeling pretty good walking in there. Now, the good news is someone called me today, one of my friends, and said, oh my God, Anne, I think you were carrying the light for all of us last night. So I'm happy about that. But the problem is, I don't know how to manage my own boundaries or my own emotions so that I don't get sucked up into that storm. Because I was actually feeling pretty good walking in there. And then when I walked out, my husband was driving me back and forth, and I was like, oh, and he's like, that does not look like you had a good, I said, it's not that. I want to do the right thing. I want to be there for them. I do look at things differently, but like the question is, what's heavy on your heart today? Well, okay, we're already looking at the glass half empty here now, I mean, how else can it go except down from there, So I always try to lift it up, but I'm just wondering, how do I protect myself, and how do you keep yourself from getting pulled into that storm? Yeah, that's the question.
And it's a great question. And we can all relate depending on different factors. And it's what I would offer are just a few things. So you meet with them monthly. You could make sure that you are in the best place possible and be the one to guide some of the conversation. Knowing that some of them might need to be in that place where they don't want to be up.
I know. And
they're processing down right now.
It's a hard path. Yeah.
The other thing that I would offer, though, is your time might be done in that group.
Oh, I've kind of fallen in love with some of these women now.
Yeah. So maybe allow yourself to play with not going 1 month and going the next.
Yeah.
And just see how it feels, because it's always you getting to tune in to how does it feel. It could be inviting the ones that you fall in love with to go out for coffee in another environment on another day.
That's true. Yeah.
We love each other and we want to stay connected, but we don't necessarily need to be in that environment where everyone is kind of starting from stage one. Now, obviously, is it helpful for people to have somewhere to look up to and to have the perspective? Of course it is. And if that feels good to be that person, then continue to do it. But maybe it's not every month, or maybe it's not every time, or maybe you leave early. Like you
but when
get
you're
to really
sitting
tune
there,
in.
let's say I decide that this is what my son really wants from me. So, and I decide that I want to do this. So if that's the case, and I'm sitting there and I'm feeling that, or you're feeling that sort of, what do you do in your head to try to keep yourself from, I mean, is there anything you do? Is there a meditative practice? Is there something you can, I don't know. I mean, people say surround yourself with this bubble of, I forget what they tell me, a bubble of something.
Sure. Well, I would say what feels good for you. Like, yeah. So let's say someone is sitting there and maybe they're sharing something heartfelt. So even like if getting up, like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom, or I need to grab a cup of coffee. If that could be okay, I would do that. Of just get up, move that energy, because you know you're coming back, but you're going to allow yourself to just have a few moments, and maybe you tune yourself to something that feels a bit better, something in your day that really felt good, or anything else. Even just tuning into that feeling of, I know how valuable it is for them that I'm here. And I'm really happy that I'm holding space because I'm showing them what's possible. And then when you enter, even if you're just doing that in your head while you're still sitting there, just tune out a little bit and just go, I know that what I'm doing is valuable. And I know that I don't need to be sucked into this. I've been on this path and I'm ahead. I'm 10 steps ahead on this trail. And it's okay that I don't have to come back and go ahead and come back and go ahead. Because it would be exhausting if you pictured on our hike that we're using it as our analogy this whole time.
That's helpful. Thank you.
So you can hold the space as that leader of come this way. But you don't need to go right to where they are all the time.
No, I don't.
And you wouldn't want to. And they really don't want you to, even though
that's true. They probably don't.
They might think it feels good, like, oh, there's all of us and we're all the same. But
but then we want you to stay up.
Exactly. They really want to know it's possible to just have a good day and feel good.
Oh, that's really helpful. Thank you, Sheila.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing and asking such a good question, because again, we don't have that situation necessarily, but it applies to everywhere. Just when we're in the situation, what do we do? I believe that moving your body is the best way of moving that energy, whatever that looks like.
That's part of the problem.
And
I'm
if
not
you
moving that
have
body,
to, yeah, if you have to, just do it upstairs, and just know that you can check out for a few moments and bring yourself. And a memory is one of the best ways of doing it, of just something fun that happened that day, a memory with your son, a memory,
Oh, yeah.
of
Tell us.
anything, of just a time that, you were laughing, and that will just help balance a little bit.
Hmm,
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody who held on. And yeah, the replays I'll send out, so anyone who couldn't attend, obviously they'll get a chance for that. And I really love playing with people. So I'm going to drop in the chat if Denia let me do something, because she's been like, man, and this chat is now going to be like a book that I'm going to write. I'm so excited because I never document anything that I do anymore. That's my old
She's
self.
done an
took
awesome
notes.
job. Great
It was
job,
amazing.
Denia.
I'm lucky going like, yes, that's
Amazing.
exactly what I said. Thank you. That was perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for offering that. So what I am going to do though is I'm just going to pop in that if you ever would like to engage more with me, I always invite people to come and play. I do have a group coaching program that meets twice a week. I do private coaching. I've got programs coming up. I've got kind of this idea, but a much deeper dive that I'm going to do a session of 3 workshops. And I'm excited about that because it's going to be more like interactive, but because we're going to meet 3 times in a row, we'll be able to engage and get to know each other. And we're going to look specifically of things that we want in our life, but we kind of have these excuses set up. The most common ones, and where I think we're going to go, but again, I'm allowing flexibility, is the lack of time, the lack of money, and that inner critic in our voice that's always going, are you sure you can do that? Or you probably shouldn't do that. And I find that those 3 definitely limited me through the years. And I would love to help people find new perspective on just shifting it a little bit. Again, we're not pushing anything away, but we are allowing our perspective to shift and be open to new possibilities. So if you're at all interested in that, the Sheila Williams coaching.as.me is the link to sign up for that one. And obviously the first one is my website, if you ever just want to check it out. And yeah, thank you. If there's any other questions or comments, you just let me know, but I will stop talking.